Success is an identity process, and you're never going to outperform the way you think of yourself or see yourself. So for example, if you see yourself as a loser, you're not going to show up and play the game like a winner would. If you see yourself as a winner, you won't roll over and quit like a loser.
Well, hey there, and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you've ever questioned your ability to achieve the goals that are on your heart, or you've had circumstances come up around you that are dictating the success that you want, and you feel potentially a little bit defeated right now, then this, my friend, is the episode for you. Today, I had the honor and privilege of interviewing Justin Prince. I've got to know Justin over the last couple of years, and in his journey in particular, as he has started and grown one of the fastest growing network marketing companies in the US right now, Make Wellness. You may have heard of the company, but Justin in this episode doesn't talk so much about that journey. He touches more on the journey that he's had, the one where most people would have given up. Justin didn't grow up in a circumstance where success was handed to him on a silver platter. Justin grew up in a broken household. He didn't go to college, and yet he still managed to grow one of two, not one, but two of the top network marketing businesses in the US, only to have those two businesses crumble around him through circumstances out of his control. Many people would have given up, where Justin instead stepped up and said, I still have the ability to control my destiny. Justin inspired not just, I'm sure, you in this episode, and I am certain you will be inspired, but he inspired me to really think about our mindset in those moments and to be the one you were put here to be. Justin wrote the book, Be the One, and he's going to share a little bit about why he wrote that and what it's all about. But at the end of the day, if you've ever felt like circumstances come up against you and they're out of your control, yet you've got these dreams on your heart you want to achieve, I want you to lean in here. Get the pen and paper out, because he drops a ton of golden nuggets and reminds you that you still have everything you need within you and around you right now to achieve everything that's on your heart. It's simply a matter of perspective. So, if you're ready to be inspired, you're ready to shift your mindset and your perspective, and you're ready to step into all that you are put here to become, I know you are going to love every bit of this interview. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming episodes. We've got plenty more incredible guests to come over the weeks to follow. But for now, I want to introduce to you the amazing Justin Prince. Well, hey there, and welcome back to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. It's my honor and pleasure today to introduce the amazing Justin Prince, founder of Make Wellness. Welcome on in, Justin.
Sam, thank you so much. I always love being with my Aussie friends. I love your accent, so it's such an honor to be with you.
Oh, it's so great having you. I love that we get to do this from across the globe. I know we were literally sitting next to each other just a couple of weeks ago, but here we are today. I'm really excited to chat a little bit about your story, hear more about the exciting journey that you have embarked on and the incredible company that you're building at the moment. But also, I want to talk to you a little bit about your book, because I'm fascinated. I did pick up a copy of it. I'm really fascinated by the message that you are leaving for this industry, and I think it's really powerful. I think we're all very passionate about seeing this industry do really well and the people in it do really well. So why don't you start by telling us a bit about your story and your journey in the direct selling industry, because you've led companies, you've been a leader in the field, you've kind of done it all.
Yeah, it's, my parents divorced when I was 12. I moved 13 times in the 7 years through the teenage years. I have no real professional background. I was making pizzas and doing construction work. I worked at a mall kiosk. And what I always had was big dreams and big goals. I had a lot of work ethic. I was willing to, put in the effort. And so I have no college education. And when I'm 25 years old, my wife and I are married with a little baby boy. Our son was about maybe 18 months or so. And, you're kind of asking yourself, like, what am I going to do to find significant opportunity? Like, how do you make it? Like, almost like, how do you chase the dream, as it were? And I'm introduced to network marketing, and I didn't know really anything about network marketing other than I didn't want to know anything else. I was just super like kind of skeptical about it. And it's so interesting looking back now. You say, why were you skeptical? I don't know why it was. I didn't have a reason to be.
Yeah.
I just kind of had maybe an inherent skepticism or bias. And man, once I kind of got past just that visceral bias, I remember thinking to myself, wait a second. So you can talk about wellness and health. You can help people. You can do trainings. You can like build up a business, with 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years worth of effort that potentially can build an income stream that could follow you for decades. I was like, and there's no risk to your credit or capital. I was just like, what is there to be skeptical about? I love this, and I just went all in. And that first company, I had no mentors. The guy that introduced me quit. The guy that introduced him quit. And that guy was introduced by the company. So I was literally like an orphan. I was like on an orphan island all by myself, And I ultimately in that company became like the number 3 earner, national spokesperson for this company. And, I was like on every Barnes & Noble and Borders and I teach people, this is back in the day when there was Barnes & Noble and Border bookstores, back in the day. And I was kind of just starting to make it happen. And the company switched their distribution model. So they basically went direct to consumer retail. So they got rid of the entire network. So overnight, you lost your whole business. It was just a super painful experience and had those tears rolling down your face. Like, I will never do business again, forget this. And, I kind of got the courage to go again and started with another company. At this point, that put me in a precarious financial situation. I was below zero financially, back on credit cards, back on taxes. I moved my pregnant wife and our 2 little babies into the loft of my wife's parents' garage. So I have 2 little kids sleeping in the closet, like lay down some blankets with pillows in the closet. And then my wife and I are in this little loft area. And then I needed to go pick up some jobs because I needed to like make some, just to like pay the bills as I was getting it built. And so I worked on the week nights for one business or one job, and then one on the weekends for another job. And, you're just going for it. I thought it'd take me 2 months or 3 months to replace my income. It took me 2 years, just under 2 years to replace my income. Yeah. And there was many, 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 many nights I remember thinking to myself, am I crazy? Like, am I freaking chasing a fake dream? Like, is this ever going to actually happen for our family? And I knew it was like possible for other people to do it. I just didn't know if it was going to be possible for us to do it. And in that kind of journey, I ultimately became the fastest growing distributor we had in the United States. I was speaking at the convention for 6,000 people. I was, keynoting through former Soviet Union, through Moscow and Omsk, Russia, and Almaty, Kazakhstan. And I kind of eventually figured it out. I ended up selling that business when I was 30, and I got out of direct sales for the next 2 years. I was doing private equity consulting. I didn't think I was ever going to do it again. And I came in, I kind of got pulled back in, I guess. There was a company that was a 25-year-old company. It was 8 years in a row of double-digit decline in revenue. It was literally going the wrong direction fast. And I was brought in as part of a super small little SWAT team, little consulting team, to see if we could transform this old dying company. Yeah. And I just remember thinking, I felt like the business model of network marketing needed to update and to upgrade. And so we ended up transforming that company. It was a company called New Ways. We transformed it to a company called Modere. We created a company called Modere. And in that process, I was there from the beginning until for just over 11 years. And wow. We went out, we created this customer acquisition model. Mm-hmm. It was kind of this new way to do it, kind of a dual-sided compensation plan where you could make money from just acquiring a customer base. You could make money from building a team. And, with that model, we put in over 5 million new customers. We did over 2.5 billion in revenue. We paid out over $1 billion in commissions. It was just this really, really great business. And at the end of 2021, so that company was owned by private equity. At the end of 2021, the equity group had levered up the company with hundreds of millions of dollars of debt. A way to think about it is they had structured the debt onto the business and then taken that money, themselves. And in 2022, when revenue softened even just a little bit, it put the company in a precarious financial situation where basically it couldn't keep up because the debt load was so high. And at the end of 2023, I was not only the number one earner in the company, I was probably the number one earner, at least certainly one of them in the world of direct selling at that point. So I've been kind of all levels, where you're making no money or making a little bit of money, or making a little bit of part-time money, and then on up. Mm. And I landed in New York for fall break with my wife and the kids in fall of 2023. And I get an email from one of the largest law firms in America says, you're terminated and we're suing you. And my little girls are in the back seat. We're in the Uber and we're almost to the hotel. My little girl turns to her sister. They were 3 and 5 when we started this business. It's all they'd ever known.
Yeah.
And she turns to her sister and she goes, "What does terminated mean?" And their little sister goes, "I think Dad got fired from the company." And she goes, "I thought Dad was the company." And she's like, "What is happening?" And it was a really, really painful, super painful experience to go through.
Yeah.
I knew that it was a wrongful termination. I knew what they were doing, and it was super dirty. They were trying to pin they were trying to pin a narrative to the bank that they'd taken all the money from, of like, it wasn't our fault. We're trying to find these people. It was just it was like the stupidest narrative ever. But I fought back. I was just like, you guys picked the wrong guy. Like, I'm definitely going to fight back. This is so wrong. But it was one of those times where you really say to yourself, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And that ultimately led me into what we're doing now, which, we launched our company just over a year and a half ago. And it gave me a lot of clarity that time out, that year out, to really say what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I want to take some of these skills that I learned and be able to not only change the future of wellness, but then also to create economic opportunity for people. And I feel like our space, if you look at the direct selling channel, across the board, we're actually down. So our revenue as a profession is down. And in Chinese, they write where we write in letters in America and in Australia, they would write in symbols. And the symbol for the word crisis is the same symbol. It means danger and it means opportunity. So when they see the symbol crisis, they see danger.
Yeah.
They also see opportunity. I remember thinking, there's also obviously a lot of danger to start a new startup direct selling company, but I also saw there, if you do it differently and you do it right, I felt like there was also significant opportunity to be able to really, forge the future of where direct selling needs to go. And so that's what we set out to do. And it's been an amazing ride since. And we feel like we're just barely getting the party started of what we're really where I want to take it.
I love that story of, got completely knocked down, not once, but twice. And, it does really hit home when your family is involved as well. And it's a really powerful story about your girls too. And I think what is amazing is that they've been able to watch you sort of take that hit and then get back up and say, right, this is an opportunity. I'm going to take crisis and I'm going to create opportunity out of this. I want to know, what is some of actually, as you were talking there, I actually want to bring up something that potentially could be a little bit sensitive, but I think is a really big conversation going on right now. There was recently, in the last 12 months, a podcast episode by Charlene Johnson, who's she did a lot of work with companies like Beachbody, etc. And when some of those companies started to go the affiliate model, go to direct to consumer, or close down completely, she released a podcast episode warning people about the direct selling industry, or network marketing and MLM, and telling people that it wasn't a safe industry to be in, and if you were building a business in this space, that you were building on rocky ground and you shouldn't put your eggs in that basket. This is actually a narrative that, myself and I know many people have been working very hard against, because this industry, like any industry, can have its risks, but it's also a really powerful industry that gives people their own power back and their ability to grow their own wealth, their own success. But what would you say to that? Because you've been through that yourself. I know that you're building a company in this space now, but your company is not every other company. If someone was saying to you, is this a safe industry for me to be betting my house on? And maybe they've listened to that episode that she released. It's not one that I'd necessarily suggest people go listen to, because I don't agree with everything that they said, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, look, these are very sincere questions that I asked myself, right? Because I invested millions and millions and millions of our family's, nest egg to start this business, and basically to put, in essence, all on red, all on the line to go do it. That's in addition to your care and concern for all these families and people. So that's, it's just putting yourself really out there to really go for it. And so it was a very thoughtful discussion for me of, what I wanted to do next. No one wants to invest millions of dollars into a dying industry, for example.
Yeah.
And I'll speak about the United States specifically, but I feel like this is a true statement across all the oceans. And that is, you ask yourself this question: do you think that people, there's less need for opportunity today or more need for opportunity today? I think we would all say, no, there's as much need for opportunity today as there's ever been. Okay, cool. You say, there's in America, we have what we call an affordability crisis. We have with housing, with food, with utility, energy, basically, with healthcare. I think it's kind of a global challenge a lot of people are facing. You say, how do people step into entrepreneurship, in these different markets? And one of the beautiful things about direct selling is that you can do it with really very little risk, no risk to your credit, and very little risk to capital. Literally, in case like in our business, it's literally free to be an affiliate. You could start your business literally for free. Now from there, if you can buy the product, right? And I obviously recommend people buy the direct selling products because it's hard to recommend a movie you've never seen or a book you've never read or a restaurant you've never eaten at. So it's hard to give a word of mouth testimonial or referral with something you've never tried. But there's no fee to join. There's no monthly fee, to participate. You can participate in the compensation plan without buying product. So I feel like we were able to get rid of a lot of the old stigmas. So that's the first part. Is the need for opportunity higher or lower? Is the need for entrepreneurship, people wanting to take control of their life, higher or lower? I think there's a lot of people that want to take advantage of the free market or free enterprise system and change their financial situation. Yeah. So then you get into, is there structural problems in direct selling? Like, is there so for example, is it just better to go direct to consumer, or is it better to, with trying to create AI agents or something like that? Let me say this. At least in the United States, we're in what I would call a trust recession. Yeah. I think this is a global phenomenon, not just a U.S. phenomenon, but basically think about it this way. When was the last time you looked at something on your phone, a video or an article, and you say to yourself, is this even real? Like, is this AI? Is this like what? Mm-hmm. Like, is that video even legit? Like you hear a news report and you think, is that kind of slanted or a little bit biased? You want to kind of get maybe some other opinions from maybe a podcast or something like that, and just kind of hear different sources of media. In the United States, we have the lowest trust in politics, media, social media that we've ever had. And so you say, what is the power of direct selling? The power of direct selling is the power of humans. And I think as we head into the world of complete AI, complete robots, just the whole thing, I think human interaction, human events, human testimonials, human referral, human relationship, like personal development, like another person saying, hey, I believe in you, I see you, I recognize you. I think that's going to become like paramount. Like, I think as humans, it'll become not like a commodity anymore. It'll be like a real thing where we want to be together. Yep. And so done right, I think direct selling has a chance to thrive through this next, season. Now, with that said, if you look at all the companies that have had issues, by the way, including my former business, there was financial mismanagement, and you have to be innovative and you have to stay relevant and you can't rest on your laurels, and you have to be people focused. I think they're like my passion is to bring back the value of all of these people. Mm-hmm. And to truly pour into them. Robert Sheeler was a famous religionist author. He says, if you build the people will build the church. Yep. My real business isn't the people building business. We just happen to sell, products that will change your health, in a positive way. But I'm really in the business of changing people's lives. And so I love that. I feel like that done right at scale is going to be extremely valuable here moving forward. And I think people will. You're already seeing it, by the way. You're seeing it even now. You're seeing a revolt against, just more and more and more and more of AI, particularly when it's more and more an AI that's just less and less human, And so I think people want to have that human connection. So I think direct selling, I think we've had our challenges. I think, by the way, every profession on the planet, every business model has its nuances and its quirks and its challenges and things it needs to work through. Mm-hmm. But I think that the best direct selling companies, I go back to this idea of like the crisis equals danger and equals opportunity. If you find the opportunity in the danger, you can really set yourself apart and you can really do, some dynamic things. So that's kind of how I'm processing, the future of direct selling.
Yeah, I love that. Really, really powerful statements there, and so true that you kind of took the core of the last keynote I delivered at the convention that we were both at, which was that we have, I truly believe, one of the greatest opportunities right now, and the trust recession is global. It's everywhere. With the rise of AI, with social media being used the way that it is right now, you've hit the nail on the head. It is a huge challenge because everyone's asking the question, who can I trust? What can I trust?
Yeah.
But
Yes.
we're in an industry where it is human. It is people to people. And, there was another speaker at that last event that we were at that said that this is a belly-to-belly industry. And I truly don't believe that has changed. Just the way that we can have those conversations has changed, and the way that we can start those conversations has changed, and the opportunity to reach more people than we've ever been able to reach before. But it still needs to be human. And that's, super, super important, powerful. Let's just really quickly touch on the AI side of things, because I think this is a really big conversation right now around how should I be using AI in my business? Should I be using AI? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And, I've got my own opinions on how it should and shouldn't be used. I'd love to hear yours. I know that you guys are very active in the social media space. You're active in your training around how people communicate, how they talk about the business, the opportunity, etc. What's your opinion on utilizing AI? Is it good? Is it bad? Where's the middle? What are you encouraging people to do and not to do right now?
Yeah. So it's hard to have a binary discussion that it's bad or good. It's in essence how you utilize the tool, right? It's like, is the internet bad or good? Well, dude, you can do a bunch of really hellacious things on the internet, and you can also do some really great things on the internet. So it's hard to make it super binary.
Yeah.
I'll share a couple quick thoughts. So our product line is these natural peptides. So these are AI discovered peptides, because there's literally billions of peptides in nature, and they're cell signaling, so they can talk to the cell receptor systems of the body. Without AI, they think about it this way: there's about 7,000 different systems of the body. There's billions of peptides. So it's like it's like peptides are a key, and your cell receptors are locks. It's like a math problem. Mm-hmm. It's like pre-AI, you couldn't have figured this thing out, And so to be able to isolate, identify, and do human clinicals on these peptides, that's how our business started, partnering with these different biotech labs around the world. So that's one way. Another way is, we created a compensation structure called ClearPath. Mm-hmm. And the idea was, if you think of what Uber did, so think about it, not what they did for the consumer. So in other words, they helped us to understand, and experience a city in a different way. But think about what they did for their drivers. So the economic opportunity they created for drivers. They did basically three quick things. Number one is they created real-time earnings visibility. So through technology, you could look at your Uber app, and in real time, you could see exactly how much you had earned for the month so far doing your drives. In direct selling, a lot of times, we don't know what we earned for so far this month until the end of next month, a couple weeks after next month. And then finally we get our reports and we can kind of check where we are. So to be able to see in real time at all times what you've earned, by the way, not just on your personal sales, but also through a team. The reason we have to typically weigh is there's all the, there's qualifications, and there's teams, and there's levels and generations, and, balance, and just all the different things we need. So using AI, we can show real-time earnings visibility at all times, in real time, to the dollar. You can see how much you've earned at all times. So for example, today's the 17th of the month. I can tell you exactly how much, someone's earned to the dot, to the dollar so far. And let's go back to trust recession. The days of just basically saying, just trust me, just work hard for 5 years, or just trust that, next month on the 15th of the month when you get your check, that it's going to be. I wanted to create more clarity and more certainty, because how you build trust is clarity is if you do this, certainty is you're going to get that. And the more you can close that gap, the more clarity and certainty you can create, the more trust you can build. So second thing Uber did, this one's actually probably even more impressive than the first thing, is they created what I call real-time future earning visibility. So they would basically ping you and say, hey, Sam, if you want to take this ride, you haven't taken it at this point yet. Yep. They would say, if you want to take this ride, you'll make $17.20. Here's how long it's going to take. Here's where the ride is. So you could make a decision before doing the work. Was the work worth doing? Yep. And using AI and using our ClearPath model, before someone does the work, we can say to them, this next piece of work, you're going to make $1,187 once you complete this in advance. So it's all before. So it's all predictive. Most compensation, that we would do, we can look backwards. We can look at our reports backwards, looking the prior month. We can't affect them moving forward. So we know exactly what every single step is worth prior to doing the work.
Yeah.
And then the third thing that Uber did was they created daily pay. And daily pay back then, you think about average consumer or average worker, is paid twice a month, basically paid every 2 weeks in essence. That's how most of us that came up in a kind of a traditional employment situation would be paid. With Uber, they're paying them up to 6 times per day. And so with ours, we've paid daily on your personal sales. So for example, if you personally got a customer or if you personally had a direct affiliate, an affiliate that joined with you, you would get paid daily on that. And I think that's a huge deal. However, with this new model, we pay daily on our team sales as well. So people can actually earn commissions from their team's successes as they're helping their teams to succeed. They can earn those commissions as well. So it's not this idea of like, just kind of hope and just kind of do all this work and kind of blind faith. And then on the 15th of next month, you'll get your check and hope it's right. And then you see all the qualifications. It's all done with real-time earnings visibility, real-time future earning visibility, and then also daily pay on team sales. So that's example. All of that came to life through AI. We used AI to bring all that to life. And that stuff, I think if you're not doing those types of things, you're going to look like a dinosaur at some point, and you don't want to be a brontosaurus. It's not going to go well. And so that would be an example. Now, where I think you can get yourself in trouble is if you just do a chat GTP post, where it's like that's your description of your post without thinking and like whatever. Now, do I think you can use AI to say, hey, find me the best people in my company or the best people in my industry, or and like let me like learn some models and so on? I think that stuff's good. So again, it's hard to say is it bad or good. I do think it's a tool we all have to learn, we all have to adopt, we all have to get native with, but it's not one that's going to do it all for us. So I'll also share this with you. There's questions about like the agentic AI, which basically means like they'll just like you and I won't even be on social media. It'll be like our avatar, basically, like just on there doing a billion videos for us and stuff.
Yeah.
My guess is, so we'll have to, I'm going to give you my prediction. We'll have to see if this is accurate or not. My prediction is that AI or that social media will become human only. They won't even allow that stuff on there because think about it for you and I. How does social media make money? They make money from advertising, and the way they make money from advertising is they have our attention, right? Like we're on the platform. If everything is AI on there, if everything's agentic, if everything is just, a bunch of bots, you and I don't even want to go on because we're a freaking human and we'd rather talk to, a real human.
Yeah.
So my point is we've got to get better at this stuff. Like you've got to learn how to build trust through a camera and build trust through, through your content.
Yeah.
In addition, obviously through your DMs, in addition to meeting someone for coffee and the whole thing. But I'm just saying, I think that it'll be banned. You're already seeing the things that say like this is AI info or this is AI edited. You're already seeing all that stuff next. They're trying to you're seeing on YouTube that they're already demonetizing, the agentic stuff. I think that it's going to be human only platforms, and we have to continue to adjust and adapt. So if you're trying to be Mr. or Mrs. AI on those, I think that they'll actually flag you and you'll get less reach.
Yeah. Interesting that you say that. And we are actually seeing trends in that direction. And there's a lot going on with transparency, as you said. So identifying this is AI or this was AI edited. But we're also seeing some accounts starting to get shut down now that are AI posing as human. And and unfortunately, and in fact, there was a report came out recently, or a statement, I should say, that came out recently from Instagram, where they'd shut down thousands of profiles that were AI generated profiles. But in that process, they'd accidentally shut down a bunch of profiles that were genuine profiles and sort of did the whoops. Now, like if you were one of those people who had your account shut down, we came across a couple of them in the last week actually, and their accounts are gone. They're just gone. But it is a reminder that I think two things. Number one, I agree with you, Justin. I think AI is something that people don't want more of as far as social media content is concerned. And we shouldn't be relying on it for creating our content. I think there's a lot of misuse in that space. But also I think that human, real, relatable, I connect with you, you connect with me, we are one in the same is really where the magic's at right now, right? That's it, not just in this industry, but I think in all. It's just that this industry has the advantage because we've always been that way. And suddenly, we're seeing a lot of, if you look at other industries, they're starting to move more in the direct selling network marketing direction, which they're calling influencer marketing, but it really in many cases is very much the same, because they understand the importance of human to human, real, relatable, everyday person next door talking about your product versus broadcasting style marketing, which is what many of those companies have relied on for many years.
Yeah, agree with all that.
So I want to chat with you a little bit about your book. Now, your book is titled Be the One. Tell us a little bit about what that means. Why did you write it? What should people expect when they pick it up?
Yeah, so I think there's really two things to consider to start. First is that you're the one. Success is an identity process, and you're never going to outperform the way you think of yourself or see yourself. So, for example, if you see yourself as a loser, you're not going to show up and play the game like a winner would. If you see yourself as a winner, you won't roll over and quit like a loser. Mm-hmm. There's a story told of two little boys, one of which stole the candy, and they said to the first child, they said, "Did you steal the candy?" And the little boy said, "I didn't steal the candy." And they said to the other child, "Did you steal the candy?" And the little boy said, "I don't steal. I didn't steal that particular piece of candy is more of an action. I don't steal as an identity." Mm-hmm. And your success is an identity process. And so I think when people realize that they're the one, and if you think about yourself this way, think about just as you're listening, think about your mom and dad. And then think about your grandma and grandpa, those of you that knew them. Think about your great-grandparents, and those of you that knew them. Think about your great-great, some of you knew them. If you go up that line, 12 generations, it was 4,094 people. So 4,094 people from all over the world came together to create you. You are the one. And you are the one these folks lived for, bled for, cried for, died for, gave everything they had for us for you to have your life, this moment, this breath. And so I do think there is a shift in again, success is an identity process. There's a shift in yourself where you're like, I'm the one, I'm not just some random person or some random being, or I'm not here by accident. My life has value and purpose and meaning. I'm the one. That's number one. Number two is the book is not called Become the One. You already are the one. The book is Be. So I wanted to put, I hope the book inspires someone or in essence motivates. The word inspire, by the way, comes from the Latin, means in spirit. In spirit basically means it breathes life into your spirit. So I do hope it inspires you. But what I really hope it does is I hope it teaches you. So I took all of the formulas and frameworks and practical steps. I literally asked myself, how the heck did this happen? How did I go from, a divorced family and no college education and no professional background and all of these different challenges to doing billions of dollars, multiple billions of dollars in revenue and traveling over the world. And I'm like, what the heck? How did this happen? And so I put all of that down into frameworks and formulas and steps that you can actually use to be the one in your own life and to be the one that lives a life and be the one that writes a story that future generations look up into your family lineage and they're like, it was her.
Yeah.
It was him. She's the one that changed it for our family. And whether that's breaking some of those different kind of generational curses of abuse or addiction, or maybe they look up and they say the financial principles that set our family free, the things that we reverberate down through history. It was my great 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 grandpa, yeah, or my great 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 grandma, or the kindness or the respect or the honor and the courage and the dignity that you have as a human. People know who you are because of the life that you live. And so, the word decision is a Latin word. So decision means to cut and the D means off. So for example, when they made incision, an incision would cut in, a decision cut off. So you think about it, Sam, as you come up to every moment of your life and you make these decisions, our life is shaped in decision, as you know. Mm-hmm. We cut off all other possibilities. So for example, if we choose right, we cut off possibilities of going left. And I tell people, you've never been this old before. and you'll never be this young again. And you can't always control what happens in life, but you can control what happens next. Yeah. Because you can make a new decision right now to be the one for your family, to be the one for, in your life that steps up and writes a great story. So that's kind of where the book came from. It was kind of this idea of getting it off my heart. I had it in there, and it was a way to kind of mentor me, almost like 20 years earlier. And the feedback and the response has just been off the charts.
Oh, I love that. Such a powerful message. And I love the way that you put that we are the sum of, what was it,
4,094.
94 people came together to create what has become me. I love that. What a great way to think about it. It really does change perspective so much, doesn't it? Rather than I'm just one of many people, it's I am one of many people. Before we jump back into the episode, I want to quickly share with you a tool that I created just for you. If you've been feeling a bit like social media feels super overwhelming, I don't know what to do next, and I'm just sick of overthinking it and throwing spaghetti at the wall and waiting to see what sticks. If that feels a little bit like you right now and you aren't getting the results that you want, that's exactly why I wrote my book, Show Up Anyway. Show Up Anyway is a really simple read. I wanted to make this fast and implementable. You'll be able to read it in 1 or 2 quick sittings, but most importantly, every chapter has an action step at the end of it and a process you can follow to get the results that you've been hoping for. So if that sounds a little bit like you can go to the show notes, you can grab a copy there, or of course you can jump onto Amazon and order your copy. It's available in Kindle, it's available as a paperback, and now also in Audible in certain regions. All right, let's get back into the episode. What's one belief that you personally had to let go of in order to become the person that you are today?
There's so many. I remember one specifically. So I started in sales. I worked at a mall kiosk. I tease people like the malls were all of us older folks used to go, and the Amazon was a river, right? That's where we'd hang out. Yeah. And I remember I worked at a mall kiosk selling animated Bible videos. And basically the way that this worked was you would, in essence, lease the little kiosk time. So it cost about $50 per shift that you would work, which means if you don't sell, not only did you not make any money, but you owe $50, that kind of thing. So just, when you're 21 and $50 is like, probably 20%, 5% of your net worth, this is not good.
Yeah, right.
And so I remember I worked a shift, sold nothing, worked another shift, sold nothing. Long story short, I worked 8 shifts in a row and sold nothing. So not only have you worked, 56 hours, but now you're $400 in debt, mm-hmm. and not to mention you have no money, so you can't pay your bills. I was just like, I was so stressed out. Remember, I was living at home at the time, and I remember I came home, and I threw my sales bag down, and my mom goes, she's kind of like, what's the matter? And I go, Mom, I suck at sales. I suck at sales. She goes, no, I don't think. I go, yes, I do. I suck at this, Mom. I'm horrible at it. I go, I've worked 8 shifts in a row. I go, I just want a job that just pays you, at least pays me like $8 an hour. At least pays me at least I know I'm going to make some money. I don't want to work for this company for free. That's so stupid. And I look back at it now and I think to myself, number one, I suck at sales as identity. Mm-hmm. Like we talked about this a minute ago. What if I would have owned that identity moving forward? What if I would have owned this idea of I suck at sales, influencing people? Number 2 was, what if I would have said this, because what I was doing was, even though I didn't really process it this way, it's kind of taking a little bit of a risk, right? Like you went to work, if you didn't sell anything, you not only didn't make any money, you owed some money. Mm-hmm. I was taking a little bit of a risk. What if I would have played it safe? What if my identity would have been, I just play it safe. My belief system is I just want, pay me the 8 or 10 or $15 an hour and I'll just play it safe my whole life. Like how different would my life be if I would have continued to anchor into those? And then one other quick thing I'll share with you is this. I tell people, if you argue for your limitations, they're yours. If you argue for your strengths, they're yours too. Mm-hmm. So if I argue with my mom, I argue with her, I do suck at sales. I would rather play, just have a solid job. Like I'm arguing for all the weakness I have, all the limitations I have. You argue for all your limitations, you got to keep all those. Those become yours. You want to be the kind of person that argues for your strengths. You say, that. Just give me a shot. Just let me at them. Like, just let me try, give me a it may take me, I may have to wake up earlier. May have to stay later. I may have to read more books. I have to maybe listen to a couple more podcasts. I may have to invite 100 people, or you only need to invite 10. I may need to post 100 times. You only need to post 3 times because you're so good. Listen, it may be harder for me, and I may have to work harder for everybody else, but just give me a chance. I'm going to make this thing happen. So you argue for your strengths versus your limitations. And so those little small belief systems, and just saying, you know what, I'm good at sales, and I'm going to influence people, and I can make a difference in people's lives, or I'm going to take the calculated risk, to dream and to fail, and to dream and succeed, and to win and to lose. Like, I'm going to go for it. And those little small mindset shifts, and many, many, many others as you continue down your journey.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that ultimately that belief system ultimately builds you into who you become.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So powerful. I love that. And actually, I just want to speak into circumstances for a little moment there, because you said something that I think comes up a lot. We teach, we don't teach social media. We do teach social media. It's what people think we do. What we do is we inspire people to have the courage to show up and activate in their business. And one of the things that I hear from people a lot is, my circumstances prevent me from doing what I want to do, or what I dream of doing. I don't have enough time, or I have kids, or I don't have enough money, or I'm not clever enough, or I'm not tech savvy enough. Or what do you say to people who have currently got a story that says that my circumstances are out of my control? And maybe they genuinely do believe that there are some circumstances that are out of control. Maybe they are genuinely out of their control. What would you say to that person who is currently being held back by those circumstances and unable to achieve the goals that they want to achieve in life?
Yeah. So it's this idea of, like, if we continue to own that story, that story will persist. So one of the things I teach in the book is updating your identity. Mm-hmm. I'll give you guys a silly example. So how many of you can envision this in your mind? Way back in the day when they first had telephones, they had what they called a switchboard. So you would literally pick up the phone, you'd be like, hi, I want to talk to my sister in Chicago. And they'd be like, 1 minute. You'd call like an operator, and they'd have all these wires. Like, 1 minute, please. And they would unplug you from here, and they would plug it into your sister's, and also it would connect. They'd be like, okay, you guys are connected now. And then those wires connected. Sometimes our wiring gets a little off. We're plugged in here and plugged in there. So one of the things I like to encourage people to do is just to basically, like, update their identity. It's like you start to say to yourself, is this identity serving me? Like, is this way of looking at things serving me? And oftentimes we start to update the identities. I'll give you guys an example. When I was first introduced to network marketing, I remember I used to work at a mall kiosk. I'd have people introduce me to network marketing. And one of the things, I'm so embarrassed to tell you this. Oh my gosh, it's just so like rude, and just, I just am embarrassed. I used to say this when I was 22, 23. But I would say, I had an uncle that did network marketing, but my uncle and my aunt got divorced. This is my mom's sister. And those cousins were my age. So we all hung out, in the summers, we'd all get together and so on. So we were close. And I would say to people, yeah, my uncle did network marketing. And I go, yeah, he did well too, because he was successful. And they're like, yeah, I told you, like, you should do it. It's really great. And I go, yeah, one of his business expenses was his family. Like, what a stupid, jerky thing to say. And I had a wire that went from network marketing equals, it was wired, plugged into divorce. And I came from a divorced family. So my number one fear in life was getting divorced. So imagine, if my number one fear in life is getting divorced, and network marketing equals divorce, do you think I want to do network marketing? No. Well, guys, check this out. My dad and my mom got divorced, and my dad was a real estate developer and a home builder. But for whatever reason, the wiring never plugged in. Real estate and land development equals divorce. Those wires never got wired in, but somehow network marketing did. The point is I had to be like, wait a second. Why do I believe network marketing equals divorce? What a stupid association. That's not fair. There's people that are plumbers and real estate agents and chiropractors and nurses and teachers that got divorced. In other words, I don't associate it to any profession. I don't think there's a trend that says if you're a teacher, you're toast, that kind of thing. So I had to unplug some of that wiring and kind of redo some of that wiring. I look back at that now, I almost said no to direct selling and network marketing, just out of hand, because I had bad wiring.
Yeah.
And so what if I would have never updated that identity? Like, what if I would have kept arguing for all these limitations? What if I would have kept arguing for all these kind of weird wiring and weird stories I was telling myself? You know how it is. Sometimes we tell ourselves stories, and I tell people what you believe matters. Because what you believe, you'll start to defend, create confirmation bias. You want to kind of update this stuff. There's processes you can go through to say, I don't want to believe that anymore. I don't think that's serving me anymore. Maybe that served me when I was a little kid, or maybe it never served me. But I want to start to update my belief systems, because what you believe matters. That creates all those habits and patterns and routines. I'll share with you one last quick story on identity and what you believe. So, I have a friend of mine. His name is Jaime Molina. He lives in California. This is one of the sweet. His wife's name's Ramona. The only person sweeter than Jaime is his wife Ramona. She's amazing. He has these two beautiful daughters. He works in the financial services industry. And he was telling me a story about a man named E9400. E9400 was a young boy that was born on the border of Mexico and the United States. And at age 7, he was introduced to drugs. He didn't have a father. At age 8, he was introduced to alcohol. At age 10, he was molested by someone 22 years older than him. At age 14, he was on hard drugs. And at age 22, he was put into San Quentin federal prison. You don't want to go to prison, but you definitely don't want to go to San Quentin. So Jaime he works with the troubled youth in his community. He's telling him about E9400. And he says to him, he goes, what do you guys think happened to E9400? Is he dead? Is he in prison? Is he on drugs? Is he, living his best life? What do you think the odds are? And you'd imagine someone that goes through that rap sheet. I mean, it's the odds of this turning out well are not awesome. And remember, most of these things that are happening are just happened to him as a young boy. This is truly life's happening to him at this point. This is not, this is not stuff he even has a chance to really participate in. Well, one day Jaime comes into class and he says to these students, he says, I got a special guest for you out in the hallway. And they said, who's that? And he said, do you guys remember the story of E9400? And they're all like, no kidding. The guy that at age 7 was introduced to alcohol and was molested and, hard drugs and was part of he was a mule for the cartel and went to prison. He said, let me go grab him. He walks out in the hallway, the door shuts behind him, and then he walks back in, the door shuts behind him. It's just Jaime. He walks to the front of the room and he said, I am E9400. He said E9400 was his prison number when he was in San Quentin. And here's what I want you to know, my friends. All of these things that are our weaknesses and the challenges and all the stuff we're going through, all of it, what we did is not who we are. In other words, the mistakes that we've made or the limitations that we have, that's not who we are. But what we repeatedly do is, so we want us to kind of update this a little bit, because Jaime was not born to be E9400. He was born to be Jaime Molina, this beautiful human, this devoted father or husband to Ramona, this devoted father to these beautiful girls, this man that runs his financial services business, this man that works with the troubled youth, this man that's devoted to his Catholic faith. That's who Jaime was born to be. He wasn't born to be, E9400, but he had to update that identity to step into the person he was really born to be. So I think what I would encourage you to be thinking about is, are those stories still serving you? And is there another way to think about it? If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. All these limitations that you're going through right now. So Sam, think about it this way. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the personality, et cetera, just the list. All of those are going to be struggles that you're going to have to face. And what's so cool about struggles is the bigger the struggle, the bigger the story. The bigger the struggle, the louder the applause when you cross stage. People are going to be like, standing ovation, with no personality, no social media, no skill sets, no tech, no time, 5 kids, and you're busy, and you got this. You pulled it off, oh my gosh. And you will be most qualified to serve the person that you used to be. Meaning, as you start to make this thing happen and you start to put the strokes together and you start to build some new skills and you start to get better, what's going to happen is the person that says to you, I have no time and I got too many, things going on and too much responsibility and I don't have enough confidence. You're going to say, I feel your pain. Not I feel for you. I feel you, and I can help you get where you want to go too. So your biggest weakness actually becomes your biggest strength.
So good. I love that. Really powerful and so true. I really hope you guys listen into that, because I know many of our listeners, and we get comments literally hundreds of comments from people every week telling us about their circumstances and their challenges and their struggles. And if you listen to that, they can go from being the thing that holds you back to the very thing that becomes your greatest strength. And I know, Justin, you and I have both, been through many of those challenges. My parents divorced when I was 6. And, went through a lot of those challenges. I ended up growing up just with my dad. And for that reason, because of financial struggle, ended up in the direct selling industry at just 14 years old. And, those struggles, those things that people go, wow, that must have been really hard. Would you change that? I myself went through a divorce when my husband and I broke up when my youngest was 3 weeks old. And people will say to me, how did you do that? And that must have been awful. If you could go back in time, would you change it? And my response is, I wouldn't change it in a heartbeat. I wouldn't change any of it. I would never wish it on anybody, but I would never change it, because I couldn't be who I am today serving you, the person that I'm serving, if I hadn't been through those things. And I don't come to people, as you don't come to people, as somebody who has always had it together and has, been successful without challenge. I don't come to people as somebody who's always been great at technology, because if I can say to you, I've always had it, naturally had it worked out, then you don't resonate with that. That's not the sort of person that you want to learn from. You want to learn from someone who also felt like they were left behind by technology and struggled with it. And like with you, someone who, had your business ripped out from under you, not once but twice, and then had to build yourself back up, because that's what the people in your business are doing right now, is building themselves up. So just remember as well that when you're looking at somebody like Justin, like anybody in this industry who's seemingly very successful, don't assume that they haven't been through challenges that you might currently be going through, if not greater. And just remember that, I love what you said, though, that the greater, repeat that again, the greater the...
the bigger the struggle, the bigger the story, and the bigger the struggle, the louder the applause. Because if you think about it, life happens in 3 sections. There's dream, there's struggle, and there's victory. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, what we want in life is big dreams, small struggles, big victories. But it's not, they're equal. Mm-hmm. So if you have big dreams, my friends, that's great. You get to dream a dream big enough to inspire you, big enough to inspire others. I want you to dream big. But remember, you signed yourself up for a struggle equal to or commensurate with the size of the dream. Mm-hmm. But there's also a victory equal to the size of the struggle. So if right now you're in that struggle section of your journey, you say to yourself, listen, the bigger this struggle, the bigger the story. And the bigger this struggle, the louder the applause. Because when you cross stage, people are going to be like, you're literally going to get a standing ovation. They're going to be like, how in the world did you pull this off?
Yeah. So good. Love that. Love that so much. So I wanted to ask you one really pointed question just before we get to my 4 favorite questions to wrap things up. But I'm very curious to hear what you got to say about this, Justin, because you have achieved success that most people do dream about. Yes, that came with challenge. But the question that I have for you is, looking back on the success that you've had, the life that you've lived, the experiences that you've experienced, what mattered less than you thought it would?
That's a really interesting question. I have a couple different ways I could go at that question. Here's part of what I would share is, I'll tell you what I had to let go of, what I had to allow less of, which was other people's opinion, the weight of their opinion. Mm-hmm. And I had people that made fun of me. I've had people that said I could never do it. When the wrongful termination was, that was painful, losing your income, all that. I had people that were friends, at least, you thought they were friends, that said hurtful things about you. You're just like, that stuff was painful. So what I'd share, though, is knowing who you really are. And as long as those that love me, that know me the best, love me the most. So my kids, my wife, the people that I care the most about, the ones that know me the most, then all that other stuff, it actually doesn't matter. And I think sometimes we allow so much weight from other people's opinions. So Sam, think about it this way. The words themselves are neutral. I think words have tons of power, but check this out. If a 3-year-old says to you, you're stupid, how much does it hurt? Not very much, because they're 3 and you're just like, no big deal. if a 33-year-old says you're stupid, then it hurts. The words themselves were neutral, but you assign more weight to the words of the 33-year-old than you did the 3-year-old. And I had to learn how to assign less weight to people's words, because those words, they weren't actually serving me at all. And I had to learn how to assign more weight to the words of those that believed in me and those that told me that I could. And that was something that really helped. So that's how I kind of processed that, just on the fly.
Yeah, I love it. So I think a lot of people out there right now are chasing this idea of success, walking across the stage, getting the trips, having all the money, earning the income, getting the reputation. And there's this assumption that when I get there, that it's going to fix everything. It's going to change my life. My life will be amazing. And, I think it's really interesting, because when you speak to somebody who's experienced all of those things, they'll generally give you a different perspective of what really truly does matter in the long run, and what we should chase, and what does change your life. And I love that you've brought it back to the things that you put value on and that matter to you. And in particular, you've gone back to people pleasing being one of those things that just doesn't serve you, it doesn't help you, and it can create pain no matter how much you earn, right? I'd add to that one thing that I think is really important to remember here, and that is that the words that people say that impact you the most are only the words that you say to yourself, because they're just confirming something in your subconscious that you're already repeating to yourself in your self-talk. And if someone, for example, says to you, you're lazy, well, you're just going to laugh that off, because in your heart of hearts, you're not a lazy human being. But if someone says something to you that might be a little whisper that's going on in the back of your mind.
Yeah, they have more insecurity about or whatever.
That's going to hit a little harder. And when I've started to learn, and we're all buns in the oven here, right? We're all learning, but I've started to learn that when something someone says hits me, I need to ask myself, what part of that sounds familiar in my own self-talk? What part of that do I need to maybe shift and change within myself? So anyway, interesting thought just to add to that.
Yeah, it's good.
Now, I want to jump to our 4 favorite questions. Just before we do, though, Justin, if people want to get hold of your book, Be the One, how can they go about doing that? We will put...
Yeah, so we'll put it in the show notes, but it's across any platform that you use, whether it's Amazon or Spotify, et cetera, Audible, but we'll put it in the show notes as well. It's a book that I think will really help you to create and design and to live an extraordinary life.
So good. All right. So are you ready for the questions? I'm going to throw these ones at you quick fire.
Yeah, let's do it.
First one, we believe that leaders are readers, and we love a good book. We have been building for 5 years now our Accelerator book list. So what for you is your book of the moment, or a favorite book that you would add to the book list?
So books, I have so many that I would pick, because that depends on how they hit you. I'm going to give you guys one that hit me at a moment that helped me finish my book. Okay. So the book is called Who Not How. And basically what it says is this. It's Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. Basically what it says is, we ask ourselves, how am I going to achieve my dream? The book says, instead of asking how, it's who do I need on my team to help me to achieve the dream? In other words, who do I need around me? Who do I need on my team? In direct selling, this is a team sport. This is not one-on-one. This is a team. And so that book is so powerful to help you to start thinking about the who's in your life versus just the hows.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. And I think that's a new one. We often get a lot of repetition after all these years. So not had that one. Love it. Your favorite quote?
One that's on my heart right now is to always do more than you're paid for as an investment in your future. And think about it this way. How often is always? Always is what? It's always, right? So always is always. You don't do it when it's convenient. You don't do it when you feel like it. You always do not just what you're paid for. In our global economy, we have what they call quiet quitting. People that just kind of like, they quit before they even get up to bat, that kind of thing. They leave at 4:55. They don't actually put in the actual effort. So most people don't even do what they're paid for. My friend, do more than you're paid for. Show up early, read the book, put in that extra effort, walk around with a smile, good attitude, build your skills, try extra, like do more. And you say, why? Why? I'm not even earning that much right now. Why would I try harder? And it's because it's an investment in your future. So you always do more than you're paid for as an investment in your future. I look back at that now, that little philosophy literally changed my whole life.
So good. All right. And if you could have a superpower, any superpower, what would that be and why?
It'd be flying, and I'd be able to fly like super fast.
Probably the most common one that we get. Definitely from the people that have to travel a lot too. I love that.
Exactly.
Supersonic speed, right? Just, I'm there. Last question. If you could go back in time and say one thing to your past self, what would that be?
What I would tell myself is it's going to be way harder than you think, and it's going to be way more worth it than you think. So I thought in like 3-month increments back in when I first started. I was just like, 3 months from now, I'm going to be making $10,000 a month. It's on, I think my third month check was like $70. I was like, what the heck, And so it just was harder. It was just way harder. It took way longer than I anticipated that it was going to take, way more challenging. And it's so much better and so much bigger. And I couldn't have dreamed it up, what's happened. So it's way bigger than I thought it was going to be and way better, but it was way harder. So I think most of us, as you know, we overestimate what we can do in a year and we underestimate what we can do in 10 years. And so giving yourself long-term vision and long-term perspective is so valuable.
Yeah. Wow. I love this. I actually have really loved this conversation. There's been so much even from here that you've reminded me of. So I really appreciate you coming in today, Justin, and sharing so much wisdom with myself, with our listeners, and really appreciate what you're doing in the industry. It's so fun to watch. So really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Love doing it. And let's do it again.
Awesome. And thanks, of course, to our beautiful listeners for tuning in this week. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And if this one's been impactful for you, go ahead, share it with a friend or someone else in the industry, or maybe even someone who's wondering whether this is an industry for them. I think this is a perfect story to share with them. So thank you again so much, Justin. So great to have you join us, and we'll see you all next week. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening. If this episode gave you more clarity, courage, or strategy to show up online, please make sure that you subscribe and follow so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. And of course, share this message with someone else that might need to hear it. But that's it for us from now. We'll see you next week.